Hey y'all, welcome. Thank you so much for watching. Today I want to talk about the um, exploring the risks of natural law and of practicing natural law. So not just the inner work, right, but taking the outer action, which, as one of my dear friends said, it is primordial divine laws in form. And that was so beautiful. And I told her, I said, I'm going to use that because it's beautiful. Primordial divine laws in form. So when we talk about natural law, we can talk about the inner state of being that is in alignment and harmony with nature, with truth, with the universe, with all that is, with what we really are. And then that extends outward in our responses, our behavior, our actions. And so for me, part of that is doing the paperwork, really, if you will. So the things I talk about, right? Like correcting status, um, and doing your revocation of election. These are just examples, but these are things that go along with that. And this might be, I don't know, this might be a long video. So, but maybe not. We'll see. I just want to get everything out because I wrote a lot down about this because and the reason this video is coming about is because I recently had someone who I used to be close with, who was a friend in my life, and I valued very much, and is no longer, we kind of, over the past year or so, kind of exited each other's, energy fields just naturally, right? That happens with friendships and relationships and all kinds of things. When things are no longer aligned anymore, it cycles out. It's complete. It's um, served its purpose. I heard when I was young, and I loved this, that relationships and friendships, this can go for anything, is a season, a reason, or a lifetime, right? A season, a reason, or a lifetime. And there's very few that holds for the whole lifetime. There's very few. It's rare and it's special. And it's okay that people come in and out of our lives. That means that you're growing, right? If the same people are in your life, from beginning to end, I mean, again, there will be some. But if you're not growing and expanding and changing, then you could be with the same whole group of people, for your whole life. And that when people are coming in and out of your life, it is really just a beautiful sign that things are shifting for you and you are growing and changing. And what was aligned once is no longer. And I don't want to get into a long thing about that, but just to say that this person that was in my life is no longer in my life, and that's okay. I'm at peace with that. It's actually the best thing. It's in alignment. And when there's a sense of relief, then oh yeah, that's really in alignment. That's great. So for lack of going into all the details about it and the story about it, this video came about because she had proposed to me, me feeling like we were in alignment on certain things very strongly. But she proposed to me like, hey, I know you believe in what you're doing with the natural law stuff and the teaching that I do, but you're not telling people, or at least in her mind, in her view, I wasn't sharing the risks. And I put risks in quotes because that's a perception, right? And to me, that's a lot of fear energy in the system. Okay, not to say there aren't risks. Life is a risk. You leave your house every day, or if you do leave your house every day, you are risking something, right? Getting in a car, all these things, walking down the street, everything is, we could say it's a risk, but we could also say it's an opportunity, right? And do bad things happen? Do things we don't like happen? Of course, that's life, right? We are here as human beings to experience the ups and the downs and but it, but everything is energy. So it doesn't mean that if you're in beautiful, wonderful energy, that things you don't like are never going to happen to you. I'm not saying that, you know, things, sometimes there is abrupt alignment, right? That like this was an abrupt shift in alignment, you know, this whole situation that happened a few weeks ago. And it was just, it disturbed my peace. You know, it wasn't something that, that I loved navigating through, but it was necessary and purposeful. And here I am, right? So I am using it as an opportunity to expand and to grow and to what do I really feel about that? And so it allowed me the opportunity to really dig in and say, okay, is there something that I'm not doing that I should be doing? Is there something I'm missing here? Is there something that I can look at, that I can improve upon and get better? You know, and a few different things came to me. So the first thing is that because it's all energy, right? Folks who are in alignment with this work, the natural law work, the sovereignty practices, the folks who are in alignment with that will find it. It will come to them. Okay, the folks that are not, it just won't. It's just not going to happen. You know, so if someone is has a lot of fear-based energy and they're, you know, they have a lot of fear just about life in general and other things, you know, this isn't going to be something that they're probably ever going to even be exposed to. Okay. And if they're exposed to it and they're like, oh gosh, no, that's, you know, that's, I'm scared or that's fearful, or like my friend who went and did a couple weeks of research online and found all these, you know, these stories that you know, scared her or made her feel like, oh, this isn't a safe thing to do. You know, that's the energy that she is coming to it with. So then, you know, it's that's the energy that yeah, that she's gonna carry in her system and be bringing. And so of course it's not going to be the right thing for her, you know, or anyone else who's like, oh God, that's great. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of people who don't know much about this or wouldn't, you know, wouldn't or might have some fear around it. And that's okay. You don't have to, I don't have to agree with everybody or have, be on the same page or in the same place. But when there's that deep root of like, just, you know, those who know what sovereignty means and not just here, but like have embodied for themselves and have come to a place of self mastery and not looking outside of themselves for anything, not needing anything outside of themselves. Who really know what it means to be so, even if you haven't fully embodied and you're not fully there yet and you're working up to it, but you know it speaks to you, you know it. um, they're not they're not going to have the fear, right? And they're going to know what's right for them and how to move on. So I almost think, you know, someone coming even with a good intention of, oh gosh, this could be really unsafe, to folks who this is really for and who get it and who know it in their core, could almost have a chuckle because it's like the point of sovereignty. The point of sovereignty is to be completely responsible for yourself in a way you never have been before. And it's not something that is for everyone. In fact, it's not even something that's for most people. It's a small percentage of people that this work will speak to in this lifetime, right? Um, and it's the folks who just like, as soon as I started hearing about, you know, the truths and the lies and just all the things around, you know, how we've been so deceived, um, you know, and thinking that being a US citizen is just this holy grail and, you know, all these things, right? It's just like, keep the indentured servants indentured, keep the slaves slaves. You know, once you know that and then it comes like into, it's just like an immediate, that's the truth and I have to go, I have to move forward, I have to pursue it. You can't not, because once you know the truth, you can't go back and pretend anymore. You can't be like, oh yeah, let me just give money to all these criminals, you know, like, and pay my taxes or what have you. So that's, so the people who this is like, oh God, I'm so scared, they're not even going to, it's not, it's kind of a natural weeding out process. And I don't say that as a judgment. I just say that as what's in alignment and what's not in alignment for folks. Okay. So that's the first thing I want to say. And I have a little list here. So I'm going to look down, make sure I'm getting everything. And we always want to stay in honor, right? There's also a misconception that people who are, doing this work in the sovereignty field and all of that are somehow maybe just pissed off and angry. And it doesn't mean you don't go through that phase. That's kind of the first phase of like, what? And you can be angry and you can be, righteous anger, and that's not a bad thing. But as you move along, you realize you can just be so peaceful because you know the truth and it's in you, and you are the living man or woman. You are the living being that all you want to do is live in peace, right? It's just this very peaceful, non-aggressive um, energy. At least that's my experience from with myself and with those, my clients and others that I know who do this work. And it's actually a lot. It's thousands and thousands of folks who are, and more around the world. I'm just talking about in the US. It's hundreds of thousands of folks who are doing this. So you're not alone, even if you feel alone. You're actually not alone. And I have a Telegram group for everybody. Once you take my Be Free course, you get access to that Telegram group and all the support that you need around all these things. So you're not alone. I know it can seem like that if nobody around you is doing any of this stuff, and it can seem really extra scary, right? But once you start meeting people and you're like, oh, cool. Like, I'm not alone. This is a thing, and it's, yeah, it's so awesome. But so I just want to go over a few things here. Just reminders that or if you don't know, I'm sharing and you can take it in and take what resonates, right? So we're always staying in honor. What does that mean to stay in honor? We're not disputing anything, right? We're not disputing anything. We're not saying, we're not being aggressive and picking a fight, and the cop pulls you over and you're just angry and you're like, you don't know and you gotta, no. That's Those folks are going to, they're not in honor, they're in dishonor, right? That's how this works. That's natural law, right? Stay in honor with yourself, stay in your peace. And again, that could be like when you get pulled over, okay, I recommend really having a strong foundation, a knowledge, an anchoring of knowing who you are and being able to speak it out of your mouth. Because and you can watch my last video, I don't answer questions. A very powerful little phrase you can say in a lot of situations, and that's one of them. However, I'm not telling you to do that. This is not advice. This is not saying do this and, this will happen. I had someone ask me, okay, well, then what do I say after that? I don't answer questions. It's very case by case. And that's the point, is knowing what to say next because you feel it here. You have the knowledge, you have the actual knowledge, right? That has come into your mind, that you've studied, that you've learned. And then it sinks down into the space of the body and the heart, and you know it and you can speak it. Okay. So that my recommendation, of course, do whatever you want, but my recommendation is feeling like, and it doesn't mean you won't be maybe a little scared, right? Or a little bit apprehensive or what have you. But when you really know yourself, you're not scared because you know the truth. This is just another man or woman, that is exercising some perceived authority. And again, this isn't for criminal stuff. If you've harmed someone, that's another situation that I'm not talking about here. I'm just talking about, if you get pulled over for some like traffic stop. Okay, moving on. So, but know that there are, of course, there could be risks to that. Like they may not care. They may be in a bad mood. They may just be on a power trip. They may just not care anything that you have to say. And so in that case, don't, for me, here's what I'm going to tell you what I would do. Okay. I'm not telling you to do anything. What I would do in a situation like that, first of all, I don't answer questions, right? But if they're belligerent, whatever, they can't really get very far if you're not answering questions because they don't have anything to, you're not contracting with them and they don't have anything to move further along in the in the conversation or interaction. There's nothing to move them forward. So that's kind of stops everything dead in the water. But also, I really, for me, I'm not signing anything. I'm not signing anything unless the man or woman were to say, hey, if you don't sign this, I'm going to take you, pull you out of your car and arrest you. And of course, that's totally unlawful. But if they were to do that, I would sign it under duress, no consent, without prejudice, all of that. I would sign it in a way that lets them know I am not actually, I wouldn't sign my name at all. I would just say, under duress. Okay. So again, not advice, just telling you what I would do. You have the power. That's my point here. You have the power. And the only way that you have the power is to know you have the power. Okay. So there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of there when you have the power. Could some shitty things happen? Of course. And that's something you have to decide for yourself. Is it worth the risk of that? That's up to you. That's not up to me or anybody else. But if you don't have a dispute, there's no reason for the courts to come in. Courts exist solely to deal with, you could say, disputes. Courts are banks. Okay, courts are banks. They just want to get your money. And I'm talking about civil stuff here. They're just there to collect money, and they do it fraudulently. It's security fraud because they are collecting with you as the living man or woman, as the grantor of your trust. They are collecting as the beneficiary, which they are not, right? Your legal fiction is the beneficiary, okay? And if you want to learn more about that and what that means, you can take my Be Free course, right? It's available anytime. It's online. It's available for you. So courts exist to deal with disputes. If you don't have a dispute, right, you're not arguing, that's staying in honor. You're not arguing. You're not saying no. You're not, okay? You are just staying in your truth, in your peace, anchored in, okay? You have the power. So you're asking questions instead of answering them, okay? You're not signing anything. If someone comes to your office or your home with a summons or whatever, it's an offer that you do not have to sign, okay? You do not have to sign. If something gets sent to your house, okay, a summons or whatever, typically you have to sign for them. So if you don't sign for it, there's literally nothing that can be done. They can't force you to sign for it. Cannot force you. If something comes to your house as such from, government or quote unquote government, whatever, cease and desist. You just cease and desist, okay? You have the power, okay? I'm telling you these things. Yeah, cease and desist, return to sender. You are not the all caps name. That is not you. That's the beneficiary of the trust, but you are the authorized agent for that. Okay, that's who you are. So this is about your frequency, right? It's about your energetics and your frequency and being so strong in your standing, which isn't just about doing paperwork and doing all the things I'm talking about. It's knowing who you are, okay? So, and just to recap here quickly about taxes, okay? And who knows, this video may get taken down because I'm really just not censoring anything. If you suddenly, say you've contracted with, okay, contracts. When you contract and you have contracted with the IRS, and then you say you're just going to be like, you know what, it's a scam, I'm not going to pay those taxes anymore, and you don't bother to let them know you're canceling your contract, that could cause problems for you, okay? Because you've contracted, you've filled out a W-2 or a whatever at some point, right? You've paid your taxes at some point, and suddenly you're saying, oh, I'm just not going to do that. You need to let them know. Well, this is the way it is currently. There are other things that can be done where you don't actually have to let them know, but I'm not getting into that right now, okay? My point is cancel your contracts, okay? Cancel your contracts with states, governments, whatever. You're not being aggressive, okay? You're not, if you lie on your tax form and say, I may only made this much, but that was a lie. That's called tax evasion, and that's what people go to jail for, okay? Is they contract with the IRS and they lie about it, all right? This is when you start getting in trouble. What I share, what I teach is not creating disputes. It's not creating, you're not in dishonor, you're not being aggressive. So there is no opportunity for any of these organizations, these corporations, to have anything to say to you in a way of disputing anything, because you are not in dispute with them. You are just telling the truth. And guess what? They know the truth. They know it and they honor it, but only when you claim it. Okay, so this whole business about, oh, this work is so dangerous and you've never been to court, so how do you know? And you've never won a court case. Yeah, there's the point is not, I know there's some folks out there who like litigating and that's wonderful. If they're going to create precedent for the rest of us, beautiful, go for it. That's not my thing. I'm not here to get into disputes and to argue that's just not my thing, right? And it doesn't have to be your thing either. You can do this work peacefully. And if you're not getting into disputes, there's nothing to come back on you, okay? So I want to be clear about that. And all this business about, oh, you've never been in a court, you don't know how to, yeah, there's a reason I've never been in a court, because I don't have any disputes. I don't dispute things. I'm in honor, right? And this is what I teach and this is what I share. So as we explore the risks of natural law, are there risks? There are risks to everything, but the risk, we could say, if it's even a risk, is just everything that I just said. It's really it's not putting it out there and saying there's a big bad out there that I'm too scared to even look at and do anything about because it's too big and it's too bad. And that is what they want you to do, is to say, it's too big, it's too much, I'm just a little old me, and I can't do anything about it. That is false. That is not the truth. That is not who you are. You are not small and powerless and weak. That is not who you are, unless that's who you think you are. Then, of course, that's who you are. But this work really is about just coming into the beautiful alignment of your power. And yeah, I'll end there because that's a lot. But this is very, very important. This is very important work. I mean, it is for me, it's my call, it's what I'm here to share at this time, in this space, in this place. So if you have questions or comments, you can put them below in the comments. Those are on. You can also set up a 15-minute consultation. I offer free 15-minute consultations. And this is just to see if whatever your situation is, would be a good fit for us to work together. I do one-on-one consultations for this work. And I have my two courses, Be Free course, which is everything. Not everything, obviously, but you can see online all the videos and what I go through. And I also have a Create Your Own Private Membership Association. And I have some videos on that, so you can check that out. But yeah, if you want to do a 15-minute consultation with me, just go to my website, which is all linked below, tarahlong.com. And you can find all that, and I do have a disclaimer on all of my videos for natural law, that it's your responsibility. I'm not advising you. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm sharing my knowledge and my experience and my inner knowing, and you get to do what you want with that. That is what sovereignty is. So welcome, folks. Welcome to the space of pure love and radical self-responsibility. It takes work, it takes effort, but it's really beautiful here, and I welcome you. And I thank you for watching.